Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2Have 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. I am one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my co-host, Robin. Today, we are live, as you can tell, right here with our little notification on Twitch. We're doing a live Q&A. The questions have been put forward by our lovely Discord community members. I'm pretty sure that most of the questions that have come in have been LARP related, but you can throw some other types of questions if you want. You can put some in chat. We're going to go through all the ones in the Discord. We're going to go through some of the questions on chat as well. We won't get to all of them. Some of them either aren't appropriate or aren't worth a little bit. I think some of them are a piss take, so we won't be answering absolutely all of them, but we'll try and get to most of them if we can. Cool. Should we kick off with the first one then, Robin? Do you want me to do the first one? You do the first one. We'll take it in turns.
Why don't
right?
you do the first one? Because I'm just grabbing the questions that have already been put into chat now, just so that I can make sure I've got them. Otherwise, I'm going to lose them.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think I've got them. On you go.
You got them? Cool. Right.
Yeah.
So first question is from Kryzakan in the Discord. What's your first step towards becoming Emperor? And what can Emperor do once you do actually become Emperor? So we explain that
I feel like this is actually directed to you because it says
Why?
Emperor. So I feel like it is directed.
You can be an Emperor if you want.
You.
It doesn't say Oliver. You can become Emperor or Empress.
I don't have a first step to becoming Empress because I don't currently plan to become Empress. But I suppose if I were to become Empress, my first step would be, I don't know, winning a couple of tournaments, gaining lots of allies and support and backing, and going for it. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's more of a general question. I think Kryz is asking how would one become Emperor, right? So I don't think you need to be like a politician to become Emperor, but I think it helps because you currently the Emperor is or Empress is voted in by senators. So it's a 2/3, as I was learning this event just gone, actually, it's a 2/3 majority vote that you need to get in. So it's not just I won by one vote. So the overwhelming majority of the empire generally wants you to be Emperor or Empress for you to actually do it. And then what can the Emperor do when she become Emperor? So it is I don't know the complete ins and outs of this. I would like to get I would like to actually speak to the player of the last player. Well, we've only had one player Empress or Imperatrix, which is Lisabetta, which we haven't she wasn't around in play when we started.
No.
The character Lisabetta actually disappeared into another realm. Out of character, the player is basically, it's not like the character's not around. We know out of character the character isn't around. I would definitely like to talk to them, and then once we get another Empress, then I'd like to talk to them as well. But I mean, I know they have specific powers. They have veto powers. They can. I don't know how many vetoes they actually have. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, LARP Noobs interviewed the last Empress. Go check that one out. They had Roz on, who played Lisabetta. That's probably a better source for exactly, because she'll know exactly what it is that the Empress can do. But it's basically you can sit in on pretty much anything. I think you have final say as well on decisions. It's basically like I said. I don't think you don't need to be a senator to become Emperor Empress. But it's going to be a political position, it's going to be a leadership position, and it is. You also have, once you gain that position, you're then going to have to curry favor with all the nations. So I do know that Lisbetta was like trying, trying to keep all the nations on side, because that's the thing, when you've just got like a senate that will have changing members, it's a little bit different from having one person sitting on that throne, because you've got to answer for a lot personally, so
Yeah.
say if there was a new emperor that wasn't Dornish, that they're technically not the monarch of Dorne, right? So what they can do is they can Dawn can give them a test of metal, basically, and they don't have to do that, but it put you in good stead with Dawn if you did, type thing, and all the other nations have that type of thing going on. So it's a job that is like, yeah, emperor, but it's out of character. It's a very big job as well. So but the first steps would be make lots and lots of friends, make lots of
Yeah,
friends,
make
and
friends.
learn how the empire works. Yeah, that would be like out of character. Learn how the entire game works is going to have to be a thing. You're probably not going to do too well if you've got lots of holes in different parts of the game. You want to learn. You want to know. I suppose if you're a leader that's on the pinnacle of the pyramid, you're going to want to know little bits of absolutely everything. Is probably
Yeah.
the best thing to do, and you're probably gonna want to be likable, and probably a good public speaker as well would probably help.
Okay, so our next question is in from Dmitry Slavic. And their question is, what small moment role play aspects would you like to explore at Empire?
Ooh. What small moments?
Yeah, small moment role play aspects.
I don't. That's a difficult one to answer, because I'm not entirely sure. I think because most role play is, I don't even know if I'd describe it as small. I mean, I guess if you mean like a small moment in Empire is like, would a big role play aspect be like going for a hat or someone dying? So what would be a small role play moment then, you think?
See, I wasn't 100% sure on this one either, because again, I had that same thought. I was like, I need an example of what is a small moment role play aspect. My first thought was those sort of, private and individual conversations in people's tents, learning small details about other people's characters and history in the game. But I've had a lot of those.
Mm.
And even though I would say those are those sort of small role play moments, they are extremely meaningful. So I'm trying to think of something that I haven't experienced yet that I would like to, that's on a small scale.
Well,
I
yeah,
think you and
yeah.
I are similar. We kind of think of the big ones, and then
Yeah, I mean, small. It's not small role play, but it's small moments. So, I mean, I guess, I've done a lot with the. I guess like the healing side of the game. I guess I've actually dipped into a bit of the. Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer, actually.
yeah. Because I was
Because
kind of thinking, so we've done a lot in the different nations, like going around and seeing people and stuff. I would quite like to experience maybe a little bit more of that, sitting in a tavern, having a drink, and then, meeting someone new and sitting and having an unlikely conversation, and then potentially not seeing that person again, and having that sort of mystery around that, like that type of thing maybe would be quite cool.
I guess that would be small moment kind of stuff. Yeah, those kind of things you see, but it's difficult to like pinpoint one and say, oh, I want that, until it actually happens, and then you're like, oh, that
Yeah.
was a cool small role play moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What other LARPs have you been looking at, and are you considering doing more guest episodes?
Yeah, we have been looking at other LARPs. LARP is very, very like draining, like energy wise. It's very very draining on you on a lot of resources, actually draining financially. It drains your time, it drains your energy. So honestly, like for the full Empire events is just about enough for us, to be honest. Like we're both
Yeah.
busy people, and we have jobs outside of just like doing this as well. But we do definitely, especially usually when we're like, oh yeah, we fancy doing that one, and we don't tend to do anything by halves. Like, it's very difficult for me to just be like, oh yeah, I'll just go try that one out randomly. I usually like to know what I'm getting into. I usually like to have an idea of what and come into it. Come into it with a good idea of what I actually want to do. So there are definitely the ones that I have looked at are the ILARP ones.
Yeah.
They look really good. The So they do like a Western one. I think that would be pretty cool. They do a Hobbit one, which I'd really like to do. The Feast Your Eyes ones as well look good. There's one this weekend that we didn't manage to we can't manage to go to. We were booked for it, but we can't go now. That was like a Fey one.
Yeah.
I think like Fest LARPs. Because we do Empire, I don't really know. Like a couple of our friends do Curious Pastimes, and
Yeah.
I've looked at those. I've looked at Curious Pastimes, but again, I don't know whether for another LARP I'd want to jump into another Fest system. You know?
Yeah. Right. So like pretty much identical to you actually. I want to do a couple of the ILARP events. I particularly want to do Second Breakfast and Hoist because those both look really incredible and like a lot of fun. Plus, I get to be a hobbit at one and a pirate at the other. So nothing like my normal character. I feel like I would like to experience another Fast LARP as well. And Curious Pastimes is probably the one that we'd end up maybe trying out. Someone was selling us on it recently
Yeah.
actually and described part of it, and I was like, I could do that actually. That's nothing like my Empire character, and I could make that work. But again, it's tiring. Like
Yeah.
even
It
just
is.
the 4 events, and obviously I work in a high school. I am restricted when it comes to holidays, and I think next year is going to be tough, even just trying to get enough time to go and do all the Empire events. So,
Well, I think a lot of
yeah,
them, like your Second Breakfast and that, I think they take place on like the Friday night and the Saturday, and that's it. Or is it
yeah,
the
like
Saturday
that would
Sunday?
probably work.
The Second Breakfast looks good because it's more of a chill one. PD, yeah, PD. We already did PD. Curious Pastimes is someone had we were speaking to someone who goes to Empire, and they were saying that it's more of a heroic thing, whereas like Empire's very like political PvP. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's I think the problem with us, I'm not going to speak for you, but definitely the problem with me when it comes to LARP is that Empire is like my game. Like I knew as soon as I saw Empire, I was like, that's the LARP I want to play. Because it has all the aspects that I want out of a LARP. I like there's so much about it that I like that I understand that other people wouldn't like. Whether
yeah,
it's the setting or whether it's the PvP politics or because it is heavily political, or the fact that the combat is all off site and there's no PvP combat and blah blah blah, the fact that you can only be a human or an orc and the magic's very it's not completely out there, and the character creation is very straightforward. Other people might not like that. Other people might like complicated. Some people like less complicated than PDs because some of them are just like, oh, you just create a character and whatever. You just create a character and it doesn't matter. You don't have any stats. You don't have anything. You don't have any hit points. You just create a character.
yeah. Um, like something you mentioned there as well, like about like the fighting all being like away from the main campsite. Okay, I would hate for people to like, or for like monsters to come into our camp and start fighting us at Empire. But I want to try a LARP where that does happen.
Yeah.
And I also want to do the horror LARP that I like the look of.
Yeah, well,
Like,
we'll definitely look at that because that's kind of after Empire time, you know?
um,
What was the second part of
yes.
that question? There was a second
That's
part of that
I was
question.
going to say, yeah, the second part of the question was, are you considering doing more guest episodes? And yes, we definitely 100% are. I think we've had a little bit of a break the last couple of weeks since coming back from E2 and getting our recaps and things in place. But now that that's sort of all underway and clicking over nicely, I think it's time to get some more guests on. And we do have a few ideas. So I think, yeah, 100% we'll be having more guest episodes on.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Oliver. I'm kind of thinking I'd like to do that for as long as we can, having guests on, because I think that it certainly made the long dark more manageable for me. I don't know about you, but it certainly
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah, no, I'm quite you know, I enjoy having people on and you know, really, I mean, I would like this to be more of a well, like we've turned into a bit of an Empire podcast stream, right? You know, I do want to branch out a little bit as well. There's lots of people that I would love to have on interview and things like that from all over the world, you know. Never say France. Yeah, CP tends to play on bank holidays, so it might be easier. So I'm assuming that's the because I know that Empire used to run on the bank holiday weekends. I'm assuming that's why they've taken that slot. So the problem is the bank holiday weekends. It's I like the idea, but also at the same time, you know, the bank holidays mean that you kind of get two events close together and a big gap, and then another two close together, I think.
Basically, we need to somehow get more energy to do more laps. Okay, your Discord's still being weird.
Yeah, next one just has has just D next to the name.
Oh, it's a new game. You got to guess who it is.
Yeah,
It's Dolly.
yeah. One thing is below that, I've got Phil currently. I don't know whether it's just because of the type of profiles people have got, because Phil's currently all there, Reese is currently all there, Kyle's already there. Everyone else has just got the first letter of their names. I have no idea why, but
That is so weird.
this guy. Anyway,
Let's just Dolly next.
from Dolly in the Discord. When Godric is Emperor, would he be interested in hiring a sexy group of mercs as bodyguards? I may know some people. Yes, 100%. I will never be without a sexy entourage of leaguers. That's my goal. What are your both of your? Sorry, what are your both of? Oh my god, that's me. It's not Dolly. It's not your question. I just can't read. Basically, what are your kit aspirations? Like our end goals for our kit.
I change this every day. I at the minute I want lots of shiny clanky armor, which somehow also has lovely flowing fabrics into it and is also super feminine but super clanky. Like, I want to look like a badass warrior woman who is like, you know, all cool and womany, but also will probably beat you in the fight. That's so my goal is for my kit to somehow envision that.
Yeah.
I want to do something. Sorry, I've made you paint my antlers so many times. I want to do something new with my antlers. I'm thinking maybe like having like something coming off them, like chains or like a veil or something like that, that just gives it that sort of like, you know, cool look. So more clank. What are you thinking? What's your goals?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm not the biggest fan of my kit currently. I'm a little bit meh on my kit. I think it's just personal because a lot of people have like complimented my kit, but I don't know. I feel like it's just missing a few aspects. The Dornish Noble kit is, even though I'm always trying to advertise Empire is like accessible, more accessible than people think, because it has this reputation, especially because the kit standards are technically high, but that doesn't mean you need to spend an absolute fortune, and you can get kit readily. Like, it's more available than you think. That being said, the two that actually are quite difficult are the League, because we just mentioned the League there, and Dornish Noble kit, especially Mask Dornish Noble kit. It's not
I was
like
gonna say it's definitely the mask one, isn't it?
because there are so many like fem kits that you're like, oh my god, that would be great for Dornish Noble, and then just like Mask Dornish Noble is very difficult. You can kind of get like, you can get off the rack stuff that sort of looks Dornish Noble, but is a bit League as well. You know, some of the jerkins and things like that. But and some of them are maybe a little bit Wintermark as well. But it's very difficult to just go on to just go on to Amazon, go on to eBay, and find something that suits a Mask Dornish Noble. So really, I need to like spend the long dark just like getting stuff commissioned. Basically, you know, I would love a Hooperland. I would love a Hooperland, a proper one. But again, it's expensive. It takes a long time to get one commissioned. You know.
I think for your kit, you need a piece. You need some like one sort of like really striking piece, like the men's sort of like necklaces that go around the top with like all like the, I don't know what they're called actually, but that sort of look, like something like that, some like striking piece of jewelry or something, because your kit looks absolutely great, but you keep saying that you don't feel like it does look great. And I think that's maybe something that, because I mean, for me, I don't like my kit until I'm wearing my like breastplate armor.
Yeah.
And I very rarely, even if I'm trying to like cool off, I'll take everything off and just have that over like a thin dress, because that to me is when I feel more comfortable and confident in what I'm wearing. When I take it off, I feel a bit like, oh, that's just a dress now, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to go too quick, because I always feel like I'm like Godric's more of a, not scruffy noble, but like a rough and tumble noble anyway. So he would dress like, yeah. So because you get scruffy nobles, and you get like real fashionable yo folk. But it's usually like the materials that you're looking at that are different, and trims and things like that. It's going to separate you from a noble and a yo folk. You know,
Yeah.
I tend to like combat noble. It's fine. I mean, I do need like a load of. I mean, here's a tip for something that looks like European medieval. If you're mask presenting, is searching for Henley necks, and I cannot believe the fabric has just left linen. There we go. If you search for, because they're actually in fashion right now, linen is actually in fashion for men's fashion right now, because linen shirts are a big thing. But if you go for a Henley neck linen, it will look very medieval, and it will look very Dornish actually. Like it's very, very knightly, basically like a knightly. If you want a knightly kind of undershirt that's going to look good, just like, and it's there obviously because they're linen as well. They're real, cool as well. But yeah, I mean, I would like something a little bit more regal, really, in my kit, because I'm basically, I look the most regal when I've got my armor on. And my armor as well is like, basically, I feel like I need some armor on my arms and things like that.
I think you need more of what you've got. Your armor is badass. You need more of it.
Phil in the chat has said like chain of office. Yeah, that's exactly the stuff I've been looking at. I tell you what, that's not that's pretty expensive on Etsy. Like if you look for chain of office necklaces, it's they look very, very Dornish. I've even seen a few marchers kind of knocking about, and they look good on the marcher kit as well, but it makes them look more Dornish. But it's not cheap jewelry to come by. So again, a lot of the stuff. The problem with being like someone who can make stuff is that every time I go, right, okay, I kind of want that, and then I'm like, should I get commissioned? And then I'm like, well, I'm too cheap really to get it commissioned. and maybe I can make it, and then I don't bother making it because I haven't got time, you know, just to actually make it.
We kind of fall into that because so there's meant to be like a ball in Dawn next time, and I was like, I've made dresses. I have a million patterns through there that would work fine. I can walk to a really good fabric store. So I spent 10 minutes thinking about that. And while I was doing that, I was shopping and I found a dress and bought it. I was like, nope. Yeah. Even though I think if I found a dress that was ideal, but out of my budget, I would have gone and tried to make it probably on the Wednesday of Empire.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's not. This isn't like cosplay. That's the thing. It's like this.
To stay on.
Well, it needs to stay on. It needs to be comfortable as well. Because you mean wearing it all weekend. You know, it's not like a lot. You can get away with a lot in cosplay as long as you kind of look like what you're supposed to look like. It doesn't matter if you can't sit down or stand up because you're just gonna pose for photos and walk around a con floor. Whereas you know, LARP kit, you're gonna want to wear it like. You're probably going to wear it quite a lot, you know. You're going to wear it like, you know, for several weeks, basically over a couple of years. You know, it's not something you want to just be like, especially dresses and things like that. So
plus, there's really good resale value with LARP kit because especially if you have lost a character, not only will other players buy it, but a lot of the shops will buy it as well, which is quite good.
Oh, Boba says the office chains can be found on cheaper ones can be found in Mythalon. Okay, I'll make sure and bookmark that because I haven't actually looked on Mythalon for that stuff. Nice intelligent gamer says thinks I need an armored brass circlet. You know, I considered a circlet. I have considered a circlet because I mean I like the flower crown. I've seen players with beautiful like golden flower crowns. I do like a flower crown, but also, I don't think there's enough circlets knocking about in Dawn. There's a few people that have leather ones. There's a few people that have got real nice crowns as well. I think I want to get one
commissioned from Sasha. I've already spoken to her because the ones she makes, beautiful, like proper little golden flowers and things. I think you should get one made from her as well.
I think it'd be a good little like upgrade from like having the actual flowers and then being like, right, okay, I've gone through my knight errant stage. I've gone.
Don't tell the rest of the time. I'm getting sick of wearing flowers in my hair.
Never. I don't know what it is. I feel I just, I'm funny about my looks in general anyway, and I think it's because a lot of people, because you look at your own kit so much, and you're just like, ugh. So then the thing is with my kit as well, a lot of my money went on to obviously my armor, and yes, it's gold, yes, it's shiny, but also like the shape is generic for that type of armor. So there's nothing that actually like makes it unique apart from the fact that it's gold currently. So I do need to add a few bits. My shield as well, I wasn't like, I don't know how I feel about my shield either. Like the paint job didn't really work out the way I wanted it to.
I think it looked pretty badass on the field and everything. It took a wee bit longer to like dry and set, but that technique worked. Like, I think if you were to do that again, if maybe you wanted to make, I don't know, make me a buckler, but make it with like a full week for everything to set properly, I think it'd be perfect.
Yeah. I need to figure out, but basically, I think I need to like connect with some. I think I need to connect with some like LARP. Kind of LARP weapon and that creators, because there's
definitely
because basically the gold paint is an issue, because gold paint is, and because we tend to use a lot of freaking gold in all of our costumes for some reason. Gold paint and latex and isoflex don't really work very well. Anyway,
what actually worked really well, what worked really well when I was in my daggers, because I got some bright colors. I've got mica powder, and I mixed the mica powder in with the latex, and they just kept dipping them. That was quite striking. My blue one is like blue. But yeah. So how about I'll ask you this this next one.
Okay,
this is Dolly's last one.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Dolly has said, As a horse podiatrist,
Farrier.
as a farrier,
It's
I
not. It's not Dolly's
assume
fault. There's a whole. It's a whole thing. Like it's a
it's
whole.
not Dolly's fault.
No, it's not Dolly's fault. It's a whole thing.
I assume you work with the forge side of life. Have you thought about trying to make armor and that such? Slash, would you like to?
Okay, so this is quite a question to unpack, right? Because this is my career, right? So, the short answers are yes. I have I've done a lot of work on in forging and blacksmithing. I've done a lot of it. Have I tried making armor? No. Would I like to? No. They're the short. They're the short answers. I like when I trained, like you had to do my job. You have to learn how to make horseshoes, and you need basic forging skills, right? And the different types of horseshoes you can make require you to be a good blacksmith. Once you have basic, I'm trying to think of a another something else that someone could relate to. Like once you have the basics of it, you then can like branch out. But most people will have an idea of what they want to do, right? So if you're training to be a farrier, right, your main job is going to be being a farrier. You need to learn how to make horseshoes. Therefore, you need basic blacksmithing skills to do that. If you want to be a bladesmith, that's going to be your main goal. You're going to need basic blacksmithing stuff. There is a point where, or a decorative blacksmith, or a industrial blacksmith, they're going to veer off quite a bit, after a certain point. So if you're going to heat metal and go, right, okay, I know how to work with metal at a forge, that's the basics. But then they're very different jobs kind of after that. I did, so during my training, I took part in a lot of competitions, right? So they're horseshoeing competitions, but they're not horseshoeing competitions. They're shoemaking competitions. And a lot of them are blacksmithing exercises. So you will compete against other people. So, for example, because they're basically all blacksmithing tests, if you like. So quite an advanced one would be like it's a 2-man thing. You need to, from scratch, make a pair of tongs, and then once you've made that pair of tongs, you're then going to make a Clydesdale horseshoe. So that would be an example. So yeah, like I have good enough blacksmithing skills to take just a bar of steel and make a shit ton of stuff with it. Have I ever done it for armor? No. So where like armor smithing and like blacksmith or horseshoeing diverges. So if people, I'm pretty sure that people in this kind of community have heard of a TV show, and I think it's called Forged in Fire, because I haven't actually watched much of it. Forged in Fire? I think it's Forged in Fire.
It's something like that.
It's a really popular show where people go and they do a load of forging exercises, and it gets judged by a load of stuff, and it usually ends with them like there's like a load of knockout rounds, and then they go home and they have to make a blade, and then they come back with a blade and they do a load of tests, right? So I've known personally a couple of farriers that have been on that show. So when it comes to farrier skills, you need to work fast, right? You need to work fast. You've got an animal you're working on. You work in horseshoes in pairs, right? So you have, when one is in the fire heating up, you're working the other one, but you don't want the other one. The other one needs to be reaching the right temperature, and you've got to strike while the iron's hot, right? So you've only got a certain amount of time to do it, and it's like our exams and things like that are very heavily timed. So farriers can work the forge fast, right? So you'll see a farrier on that show. Our hammer work is great. Like my hammer work is fast, and it's amazing, and it's top notch. Weirdly enough, when you go into like bladesmithing, so when you see the farriers on that show, and they're trying to make a sword, we don't really work with grinders. Most of bladesmithing is you get the shape, or you fold it and fold it and fold it and fold it. It depends on what you're doing, especially things like Damascus and things like that. And then
Yeah,
you
it's
spend
Damascus, isn't it? When they keep folding
yeah,
it.
and then you spend several hours on the grinder. Like that, my profession isn't used to doing that type of thing. That's another skill on top of that. Armor smithing would be using a lot of time working the metal cold. Like armor smiths just use a lot of time working cold metal and working into shape, spending a lot of time, meticulous, like, and they spend hours. Whereas like I can whack out a pair of horseshoes in like 10 minutes, So it's different. Would I like to do it? Probably not, because I know I could do it. I've got the hard skills to do it, but I've spent the last 15 years of my life doing it, and I spent a good 6 years. Like I went abroad, and I competed in horseshoeing competitions. I like lived and breathed it, and I'm done with that part of my life now. I smell a forge now, and it gives me flashbacks to being to being an apprentice, and just working that forge and having my like just the skin coming off my hands. And my arm just about falling off because I had to make hundreds of pairs of horseshoes in a day.
It was you at What's Your Game? And I was like, oh, it's a forge. You were like, nope.
I don't want to do it. So there's the thing. I'm at the stage in my life where I want to like try other stuff, which is why I quite like. I like working with other materials, like working with leather. I like working with foam. I like working with like fabric and things like that now. So yeah. Hope that was that was a comprehensive answer.
That was a very comprehensive answer. Yeah. We're on to Phil's questions now. You wanna take this away?
Okay, so I think this is sort of aimed at like, I think where I think Phil's trying to test us for generalship. So oh, actually, was there another question here that might set this one up? No, I can't find it. I think there is one. But anyway, right, I'm going to ask you this one. Right, how many Dornish armies are there?
3.
There are 3. Can you name all the current Dornish armies?
Eastern Sky, Golden Sun, and Griffin's Pride.
There we go. Can you name their qualities?
No. I know that Golden Sun is like one of the first armies of Dawn. But no is my answer. I was a little bit like, wait, what do you mean by like qualities? When I read the question at first, I was like, I'm gonna have to go and do some research on a wiki. I didn't do that.
Oh dear, oh dear. No, I don't. Honestly,
I know that. Well, no, like I thought. I'm pretty sure. Like this is by. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't Griffin's Pride originally named something else, but they were like all wiped out, and then Griffin's Pride. There was something there, and this is what I'm trying to remember here. And as a result, they're a lot more like ferocious and everything since then. Or is that?
No, I think there is some truth to that.
I'm bullshitting right now, everyone.
No, I think there's some truth to that. So the qualities, okay. I can't name their qualities, but the qualities are they're something given to the army so they can use certain maneuvers when they're like attacking or defending or something like that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So when the Hounds of Glory were around, they could use because their quality was that which was tailored to them. That meant that when they attacked, they could use a certain thing. So
their quality is an actual in-game mechanic.
It's an in-game mechanic.
I didn't get. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know all of them. I know the gist of what like the current Dornish armies are sort of good at. I couldn't describe to. I couldn't word for word say, oh yeah, they can do this when they take the attack action or the defender, blah blah blah. So like the Golden Sun are, they're like. I don't want to say the word slow. I get like slower. They're more methodical. They're more like we're gonna move into this territory, and they're very much like a slow moving force that is just going to get into a territory and stay there and just start slowly pushing through. The Griffin's Pride are more of a just smash them type thing. Rah, get them out. Whoops. And then the Eastern Sky are they're the ones that can use the resourceful stuff, so they can like hunker. Yeah, they can go and like hunker down and replenish resources and just like and chill and go like, okay, well, let's gather our let's get our shit together, everyone. that's I think that's the gist of it, of what they can do. The next question. Am I asking this one? You asking this one?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I know you go for it.
Why would Tancred be an amazing senator for the Barons?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Because he gladly paid the cost.
Because he paid the cost. He gladly paid the cost.
I'd do it again.
It's funny because I've actually had, I think I've had 2 people like in character already before we even took the Barons actually come up to me and be like, hey, you know, I want to be the senator of the Barons. Tancred hasn't come and given me a pitch yet, but it's going to be hard for anyone. Like, I'm pretty sure Tancred would just like, hey Godric, you know, I'm going for senator of the Barons. It's going to be. I don't think he'd need any much more of a pitch. Like, somebody's going to have to come at me with a pretty good pitch. Well, not pretty good pitch, a very good pitch. Why wouldn't go for Tancred? You know, I just, you know.
I mean, yeah, I've had a few like letters and things through. Thing is, though, I don't think I can vote because I'm not going to have a favor. So,
well, so this is, oh my god,
my
right?
house might be able to vote by then.
Yeah. So I alluded to it on the podcast when we were doing our recap, but yeah, I had a whole thing where basically like the Astolat election was the reason it screwed up was basically my fault, not technically my fault. So I had a dud favor. Not that I went, oh, I'm gonna make a dud favor. No, they just like PD gave me a favor for whatever reason. It didn't work for the voting, and it was a whole thing, you know.
Drama.
It was a whole thing because then like I gave another favor the next season, and then like people were coming at me like in character, being like, "Why did you?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get this sorted out, and it's been a whole thing, but I feel like the complications be compounded because I'm a Baron's Noble. The Baron's Nobles get their favors in spring, apparently. But now the Barons is now a Dornish territory, so I'm like, so will I get one? So it makes more sense now if we get our favors because there's 4 seasons and 4 territories. I don't know. So I might get a new one before next year, or I might not. I don't know. We'll see.
The drama. I've never accidentally been involved in so much drama. Something that I just okay, here you go.
Griffin's pride were wiped out with the Barons to allow others to get away. Someone had a past life vision. So yeah, you were right, Robin. That they were wiped out. Yeah, they were reformed.
Another one from Phil/Tancred. What qualities would you want to see on a new 4th and 5th Dornish army?
So I feel like I just did like a little. So the kind of rundown I had was like we've got a big slower moving army that is just like frickin' we're Dawn, we're here, get used to it. We've got one that is like aggressive, and we've got one that's a little bit like, you know, can go can go get all the resources and things like that. I feel like we need another aggressive one because obviously like now we've lost the Hounds of Glory, like another one with like a glorious, I can't remember what the quality is called, glorious something that the Hounds had is something of the similar type of thing. I feel like Dawn needs at least like 2 aggressive armies to like just smash, go forward, you know, because basically, like from what I gather, I think Dawn is all of the opinion that like I don't think it's all just political bluster. I think it's really a thing that when people are like, oh, do we give the Barons to Dawn? It's just like, hey, you know, we've come all over the Empire, you know, when we've been needed and we've done the stuff. You give us the barons, we're going to have more resources to have armies to come and help you do the stuff, and we will come and smash. So I think we need another army like that, a fifth army. This is probably a similar type of thing. I don't know enough about the qualities in the military game to give you a specific answer to.
The Fifth Army, I mean, like we're done and we're going to be aggressive. We want what's best for Dawn, but I mean, we also like to compete against each other. So the Fifth Army needs to be something that can compete with the Fourth Army to rile them both up a bit.
Yeah.
I think we can maybe answer a couple questions together, because Phil's final question is, have you put the sad little dog markers anywhere meaningful? And then that obviously has sparked a few questions from Kamoba about what the markers are, what happened, and so on. So
a lot of this
Phil,
is going to be,
first of all, they're right here. Not put them anywhere yet, because I've just not. Okay. They're here, they're with me, they're next to me here, and they're safe. Okay.
So the sad little dog markers, we'll probably be going over this. I think, did we go over it? Because we've already recorded
Well, I already mentioned the memorial. I forgot this question was down here because I already mentioned the memorial, what they signified, why they were there.
So they were fallen yo folk that didn't have houses, that Tancred Dakota Fur had made a memorial to them.
Ain't he great?
Yeah. So they were. So there were. So there were others. So like they were obviously like out of character, like aimed at us. The ones that we took, the ones that were given to us. Sorry, by Phil. But there was like many others that were there to signify these yo folk that didn't have houses to mourn them. So, and they're not anywhere meaningful right now. just on the desk. But we'll have to find a place for them at some point. Have you so K Kamoba? Is it Kamoba? Again, I can only see K for some reason. Have you any plans for training your soft skills towards generalship?
To me.
I don't know. I guess so. We have this thing about like so. Kamoba's also asked a question below that says, obviously we all know Godric is going to be general, but will Aranel be aiming for Emperor? So we have this thing currently that Godric's story like started out with the Kamoba. Hey, we're just answering your questions in the chat. Yeah, so have you any plans for your soft skills towards generalship? I imagine was sort of aimed at me, but we've got this weird thing going on currently that like Godric's story has started out with him going for general and then being like, oh, I don't think I want to go for general, and then I just find myself in military council quite a lot and having interest there, and I'm still a little bit like, I don't think that's what I want. But everyone's like, yeah, when are you gonna be general? When are you gonna start going for general? You should be a general. But out of character, I think you actually want to go for general more than I do.
Well, my long-term goal would be helped massively if I became general. Because my long-term goal is not to be empress or like anything like that. My very long-term goal is to be field commander. That's what I want to be. And I feel like, playing that sort of part of the military game, getting into like the generalship and everything is something that can, well, obviously is going to mean that I can actually go forward and become field commander.
Yeah, it'll help.
That's actually like the goals there. But
yeah, I mean, Empire military people in the chat can probably help me out here, but if you want to be not field marshal, but command, either like leading Dawn on the battlefield or field commanding the forces in some aspect, it's usually going to be given to, obviously you pick the field marshal. The military council will pick the field marshal, and then obviously then you assign things like field commander, or who's going to be leading which army when. That's probably going to go to a general or an adjutant to a general, So I'm pretty sure if you were doing something where you're like, hey, and you approach the general, you approach the military council and be like, hey, I've got this test of ardor that says I need to lead the forces of Dawn on the battlefield. I can do this, blah, 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 blah. You probably will get away with it, if in the right circumstances. But I think generally for what you want, I think it's gonna help you a lot if you're in military council.
Yeah, I want to just kind of fully embed. Although at the minute I am really into like the Night Protector side of it that fills the entire weekend.
Yeah, you've already got a hat.
Yes, I'm working on my next hat after this hat.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep the hat.
Freaking ambition. Yeah, I mean, I
Almost
guess
like it's a priest of ambition in our house.
I think, yeah, I mean, Night Protector. I wouldn't mind doing Night Protector after you. We'll see what the state of play is in general, like in character and out of character. With the Night Protector Winter, after your term is done, it might be that we feel like it should stay with our little group.
I'll back you.
Well, yeah. It depends how invested we are, or whether we want to pass, or yeah. I'm saying it will be like a group decision of like whether we want to. If we're okay with the title just going, oh yeah, we'll see whoever else wants to do with it, because basically Morrigan had to deal with all the previous Night Protector stuff when she took it over, and now she's passed on. Now you have it, and it's like you were mentored by her, and it's just like, well,
that's the thing. I feel like if I have a very successful year at it and I'm able to achieve quite a lot for Dawn and Winter, there's a lot of, like Lady Morgan did so much in her time there, and me trying to like take over that. There is, I don't know what happened in the past exactly, but there is so many like barriers in the way with Winter, and it is difficult. But I'm like, if I can have a really successful term and then pass that on to the right person to take over that, which would totally be Godric.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what we'll see what happens. Yeah, Robin for General and Empress. Yeah. Well, this is the other thing about being the Emperor or Empress. Like you've got to do a lot of stuff because I know Lisbetta went out onto the battlefield. And I would do that if I was Emperor. I would be like, it's not actually that productive to be out on the battlefield because it's a lot of your weekend and you're such a busy person. But also, it's like, I am the figurehead for the Empire. Like, I need to be on that battlefield, Yeah.
Out of character, you'd probably want a little time away from it.
Well, you probably got too much crap to do. Yeah, I mean, you probably got lots of meetings that you probably want to get done and be like, you know what, I actually want to just sit in a tavern for a second.
I'm gonna go fight, so I'm away from these meetings for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Long-term goal is to be married to the Emperor. Field Commander, 10 out of 10 is going to happen. Yeah. Hard skills, voice training, how to project voice over shouting. Yeah. There's a handful of field marshals who haven't been generals. Lean just Dawn is a bit less fiddly without being on the military council. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I would say being like lance captain, wing captain, and then leading Dawn, being field commander, then being field marshal. They're like your steps of command, right, on the battlefield. So depending on which one you're aiming for is going to be, and that they'll go up in difficulty because no one, you're going to have to, like, people who get voted as the field marshal, people are going to pick the right person for the job or who they think is the right person for the job. And you've got a lot of people voting. You're not just going to get people, so it's going to be people who are like, yeah, they're good for it, or they're invested because it's their home we're going to, and blah, 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 and they've done the stuff. So yeah, field marshalling will probably be a longer term thing, a very long term goal. But field commander or commanding Dawn, Thing is, we've had field commanders that have just so happened to be in charge of Dawn because they're trusted in that position, because Dawn, usually when we fight as Dawn, we're the biggest force on the battlefield, usually because we're, the Wintermark and Navarre are the other two big nations the other day sometimes. So usually when Dawn come on, if you're ordering Dawn about, you're pretty much ordering a lot of the bodies on that battlefield.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're gonna have stiff competition for that type of thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
But again,
I'm here for it.
it's all about making depending on what you want to do. If you're doing it for a test or something like that, and you're just like, hey, I need to lead. I would really like to lead Dawn on the battlefield type thing. Anyway,
it'd be a lot of like seconding and then like working up. There's a ladder to work through, which is totally doable for anyone, really, which is what I love about it. Like looking at it, it's like, okay, I feel like I'm down here at the minute, but there's these steps to kind of follow, and it doesn't matter who else is here with me. Everyone's got the same sort of chance to just go for it if you put yourself forward and really go for it, which I just love.
Yeah. The soft skills come over, like, I mean, I do play tactical games. I do play like Total War and things like that for like generalship type things. That there are, I do know players like, so yeah. So I mean, well, I technically know all the all the players of the generals in Dawn. A couple of them have, said that they obviously do the whole practicing the pretend game and then playing the pretend game type thing. I haven't done any of that type of thing yet, so that's one soft skill I haven't been practicing. This is why no one wants it. We're all pushing you into it. Yeah, this is it. Well, to be fair, that's the case with a lot of hats. A lot of people will be like, I don't, because they are such big jobs. That's the thing. Anyway, on to the next one.
Okay. So our next one is from Camboa. Let's see. Sorry to quickly scan it first.
You don't Ron Burgundy it.
What does that mean?
Oh my god. Chat, you've seen Anchorman? You've seen Anchorman, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy?
As podcasters? What? As podcasters, what advice would you give to people looking to do their own podcast? Perhaps decent resource of information that helped you when you began.
Okay, so I mean, this is a big question to unpack. What advice would I give to someone looking to start their own podcast? The short answer is hit record, which is good advice, but sometimes that's a bit like, well, what the hell does that mean? It means just do it. It means just do it. Doesn't matter. And podcasting is a funny thing because it seems like something that you go, maybe, I'm not going to speak, I don't think I can speak for everyone, but I think some people listen to podcasts and they go, oh, it's just some people talking about what they're interested in. I do that all the time without being recorded. I'll just jump on and do that. That's not the case. You can. Everyone goes through a learning curve. I have to suffer through listening to us. I have to listen to myself speak and listen to our podcast a lot. So like if we do, a 2-hour recording, then I'll have to go and listen to us for at least 2 hours. Even if we're doing just a podcast that doesn't need any editing, really, it's just us, and I just need to lightly edit it. I still need to check the whole thing and make sure that nothing is going crazy wrong. We've done so the good thing about that is that I get to like be hypercritical and be like, okay, well, we could have done that, could have done this, could have done that. If you go back and listen to our earlier podcasts, go back and go, oh my god, cringe, but the cringe means that we've improved. So you got to hit record. You got to always be improving as well. I would highly suggest. A lot of podcasters won't agree with me, and I totally understand it. I think video is very important. I think doing vodcasts as well as podcasts. If you can only start with podcasts because you don't have a camera, but everyone has a phone, so like most people, I'd say 99% of people have a smartphone, right? That has a decent recorder like an iPhone. You can record a podcast on your iPhone. You know, even if you don't have like headphones, blah blah blah, you literally can just record a podcast like this, and then upload it. There are free, what's the SoundCloud is free. I think it's free hosting. I've never used SoundCloud, but I think it's complete free hosting. If you want to host on a website, then it's not massively expensive. But if you get a hosting, if you pay for hosting, then obviously that puts it out to like Spotify and things like that. But I would quickly upgrade to like YouTube and doing video, and make sure that you. I mean, the thing is, there's so much you can do with podcasting. You want to basically spread it out as much as you can. You know.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously you've already said the main one is to just do it, to hit record. I would also say when it comes to making a podcast and something you want to speak about, instead of trying to think of what would other people find interesting, what do they want to know about me, pick something you find interesting. Because if you're speaking about something you enjoy, something you're interested in, something that you're passionate about, that comes across, and other things can come. You can talk about other things later or branch out into other realms. But to start off with, make it enjoyable for yourself, because that comes through in how you speak and how you act and so on.
I think
my
I mean, there's definitely layers to. Because I mean, we've definitely had our hurdles that we've had to, and we're still jumping over and overcoming. You know, there's things that we're still working on as broadcasters and technically entertainers. The interview process is. Robin's going away. That's see now I have to speak to you on my own. So the interview process is going to be different from, say, having a co-host. Is going to be different from talking to yourself like I'm doing now. So this is a very different experience. Sitting down and going, okay, well, I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to speak to myself. That's not as natural as people might think. You know, people like will see, because that's the thing. A lot of people will absorb media when people are like streaming, or where you got like someone doing a podcast on their own. When you jump into doing that, a lot of people aren't used to just talking to themselves. I've actually got to the point where I'm actually better at talking to myself than I am maybe talking to a real person. Talking to a camera can also seem a little bit. It takes a while to get used to. Like literally looking into this camera and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to talk to the camera," isn't as natural as people think it is. And then another ripple is having a co-host as well, because a co-host is different from someone that you're interviewing. If you're having interviewing is another skill that, people seem to think. Some people seem to think that it's going to be, oh yeah, I can do that. I can talk about LARP, or I can talk about whatever it is with this person. But people generally are very good at talking about themselves, and they like talking about themselves whether they know it or not. This is all like old school how to make friends and influence people stuff. Like people's favorite subject is themselves, but most people don't realize that. What's difficult about that is that to overcome that in human nature, you need to be a good listener to be a good interviewer. So it's very basic stuff. You need to be good at doing the follow-up. It helps building what Robin said, if you are actually interested in the topic that the person is speaking about. Because I've done some interviews that haven't been about things that I'm super into. You know, it's easy for me to talk about LARP with someone. I never write down questions. I'll do a 2-hour podcast, and I will have questions, like I'll have stuff lined up in my head, and yeah, it's sometimes to a detriment, actually, that I've had to kind of learn things like that, 'cause sometimes I'm almost too, I get too excited and I get too inquisitive, you know. So are you Miss Pedar, are you used to listening to the sound of your own recorded voice now? I am. Robin doesn't do the editing, so I don't think you are, right?
Nah.
Yeah, I'm.
Sometimes I'll come through and you're editing and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
No thanks.
yeah.
Do I sound like that? Are my vowels that painful to say?
Yeah.
Like,
So some of it as well is that it depends on the format that you're doing as well. So if you're doing a podcast, is different from a short form video. Is very different from a very short form video like a TikTok or a YouTube short or something like that. So some people get very conscious if they're going, dead air. But if you cut all that out in a long form conversation, it sounds weird, right? So that it's your mannerisms that you might hate about yourself makes a long form conversation more normal. You know, they're completely okay. If you're being interviewed, don't worry about like your mannerisms, you know, and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't do that, because it's like you're acting like a normal person in a conversation with another person. It's okay. If you're doing a short form conversation, then we're going to do a lot of chops and we're going to take out lots of gaps. We actually edit like the end. I'm going to edit the end of one word exactly at the start of another word, you know, so you get that transition. If you're doing long form content like this, it's completely different. So you definitely get used to your sound of your own voice and your mannerisms as well, even though sometimes you might hate them. Excellent. Yeah. Was there another part of that? No.
Perhaps a decent resource of information that helped you began. And you've kind of like talked about that actually.
The best resource
stuff.
Yeah, the best resource is other podcasters. You can go listen to what other people are doing and take what you like from them. Sometimes like I will, when it comes to interviewing, I'll study people that sometimes I don't like. But it's always good to be like learning different techniques, you know, and learning how people do it. Like there's certain people that are very famous interviewers that, hey, you might not agree with, you might even like their interview style, but they have a way of getting, they have a way of emceeing a conversation, you know. Some people are very good at, you know, like one of the biggest podcasters in the world is Joe Rogan, right? Whether you like him or not, he has very good techniques on conversation, and especially if you're doing long form conversation where you're like, because sometimes, you speak to someone and you'll be going, hey, this person, I'm asking this person questions. This person isn't, I don't think this person is actually giving me much, you know? And if you listen to long form podcasts where people are interviewing people, you will learn how to keep a conversation going, you know? So,
yeah.
And that goes for like if you're doing a podcast just on your own or with a co-host or a couple of co-hosts, or whether you're doing like an actual play D&D stream or something like that type of podcast, or whether you're doing an audiobook podcast, listen to the stuff that you are trying to imitate, basically.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our next question is from Reese in the Discord, and Reese has asked, if you could name a new army, what would you name it? I'm going to make the assumption that this is a new sort of Empire army.
No, just a real world
new army.
Just a real world army. Yeah. Oliver's army. If you could name a new army. Oh god, you could have fun with this one. Because currently, well, I mean, since we've lost the Hounds of Glory, there's not one with glory in it anymore. So I guess we could
Puppies of glory.
Yeah,
not
I mean, we could
white
just
hounds yet, but they're the puppies.
No. I mean, we could just piss Eleonaris off and just call them like the better Knights of Glory, you know? It's just...
Then you get even better Knights of Glory.
Even better Knights of Glory. The best Knights of Glory.
Better than the best Knights of Glory.
Nice.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Come over, ask, did you know Dawn can have monarchs? Yes, we did. The first Empress did a test of ardor. Have we heard heard this story? It is a very good story, and it's probably the best story in the Empire, to be honest. The Monarch of Dawn is a whole thing. It's a whole thing in play. I know you're not an Empire player, come over, but also yeah, a lot of this, like the best way to hear this story is in play, because there were some really good tellers of this story in play. It's great. A lot of people have been like, should we have a Monarch of Dawn, because we used to have a Monarch of Dawn? Is it needed? Do we want it? Blah blah blah. It's a cool little like political thing that can happen, because we can do the whole like Winterfell thing of like the king in the north type thing, if we get really pissed off. But also technically, like the throne can be the monarch. I think technically, if the next throne is Dornish, they are automatically the monarch of Dorne. I think that's how it works. If they're not, then if they do like a test set by the Dornish, then they're the monarch of Dorne. So, but it is a fantastic story, because it has like test of metal, test of ardor.
Oh yeah, like
all the stuff.
it does
Love.
everything.
It's a Dornish story. It's a very Dornish story, and it's a very important one for the Empire as well. It's a great one.
Definitely.
So, do you want to read the next one?
Yeah, sure. Kyle has said, do you see the Eastern Front closing before the treaty with the Grendel end?
I don't know too much about this, because I'm not invested in that
actually
type
the same.
of in this type of game. But I don't think so. I think the Grendel stuff is probably imminent, especially since we seem to be doing well against the Druge. So
yeah. It's a hard one, actually, that one, because I've been so invested in what we're doing with the Druge and things like that. I've not actually I'm not too sure. Like, I'm interested to see what happens, but yeah.
This is probably, I'm assuming you were going to head on to this one. Which foreign nation or barbarian nation would you most enjoy fighting in an uptime battle, or most enjoy fighting in uptime battles?
I want to fight. I'm not going to name an actual like barbarian nation, because I'm not entirely sure which ones it would be, but I want to fight something that has like big monsters, or like land sharks or stuff like that. I want to fight something that brings new big monsters to the battlefield and rides on new big monsters. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to fight.
I love fighting the Druge. I think I spotted a question in chat, actually, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I really like fighting the Druge. I prefer playing as the Jotun than fighting against them, because Jotun are fucking cool. I don't know if I'd like to fight the Grendel, actually, because I would like, that's the wrong thing to say. I would like if it came about, I wouldn't be like, bum, no, we're fighting the Grendel. But I feel like there's a lot of players that did a lot before we started playing, fought the Grendel and the Thule a lot. And they've already got all these stories and just like, oh yeah, war rhinos, the Grendel, screw the Grendel, blah, blah, blah. And then the players that playing even longer fought against the Thule. And we've got all those stories. So it's just like, I think if we started fighting all them again, it would be like, oh, this is cool, but it's not absolutely brand new. I think what I would like is something that was absolutely brand new, that the entire player base was like, whoa, this is new, instead of us going back to, because it's a little bit like, Magic the Gathering going back to an old set or something like, and being like, oh yeah, we're going back to Zendikar or something like that, and then you got a load of newer players being like, oh cool, this is cool, and then a load of older players being like,
Then
oh
the other
yeah,
player's like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah, the first set of Zendikar was way better, or I don't know.
I
But
saw a war rhino in my day. It was
yeah,
3 times the size of
yeah,
that.
you know, like, oh yeah, they used to do this. The Grendel used to do it. But if we had something new, it would be like a shared experience of the entire player base, no matter how long they've been
Yeah,
playing. So
yeah.
I think that would be really cool.
Sorry, I can't say your name on the Discord. I've seen it so many times. I can't pronounce it.
It's Alex.
Is it Alex? It's Alex. Can I just say Alex? Well, we've said it now. Alex, your question. Having been coming to Empire for over a year now, what have you found to be your least favorite parts of the event? And what do you do to deal with that?
This is a really good question.
It is a good question. What came through like the other day, like it was in the morning, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is a good question.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually struggling to come up with a really good answer for this.
I've got an answer. I
Yeah, no,
can
you far away. Yeah.
yeah. So since you said like the event rather than just like the game itself, like in the whole event, I really struggle. I tend to get to a certain point at night, normally about 9 p.m., and I crash. It seems to be this sort of like I'll go from being very energetic and chatting to people to just nothing. It's not that I feel tired or anything. It's like I just have this sort of weird social crash. I don't know why. It just seems to happen, and it happens in every social interaction, from us going out to the pub for a few drinks or going to a film or anything like that. I get to a point and it's just like everything crashes. I don't know how to deal with this because I've not found a very good way yet. Although one thing that I have noticed recently working specifically at Empire is, especially if we're sitting at a camp and I feel that happening and I've just gone, is although it feels like the last thing I want to do is get up and walk around, but getting up and heading over to one of the other nations, one of the other groups, one of the other parties or something seems to like lift back up, and then I can go right through to like 1 a.m. quite easily. But it's at between 9 and 10, there's a weird sort of lull, and it's always like a weird battle getting through. At the events, obviously, you were adding into the fact that you're sleeping in a tent, you're doing a lot more, you're away from home, you're out of routine, you've not eaten enough, you've drank too much. So all of that combining can really like get down on it. That's the one thing I do struggle with. And obviously, Oliver, you always notice when I do it because you've known me for quite a long time. So you always notice. But I've had a couple of people being like, oh, you're tired. You want to go to bed? And I'm like, but I've got this thing where I don't want to be rude. I don't want to look like I'm being rude and not interested in what's going on. So I'll try and look like I'm not crashing inside. That's my one. What's your one?
I think I mean, okay, my least favorite part. I'm doing this stuff in my head because I'm actually struggling because I love these events. Like I really do. Again, like Empire is my game. I feel like so I get this with like MMOs, right? So when people talk about MMOs, you'll start talking about MMOs like, oh, I play like Elder Scrolls or I play WoW. And then you get the Final Fantasy 14 players that pop up, and they always pop up. They're always just like, "Oh, you're talking about." I feel like Empire players must be the Final Fantasy 14 players of LARP, because like I speak about Empire so passionately, even though it's the only LARP I really play. And there's not a lot in. There's not. I've just noticed. I think the chat is quite far behind us. So sorry, chat, if we're not.
No, it is because I thought it was like my internet because I was going to close off Twitch because it's just it's miles behind on mine.
Yeah. So we're very sorry. Yeah. We're very sorry, chat.
I'll put a message in chat now and literally say that.
We're basically we're way ahead. We're way ahead of you, chat. So I apologize because there's a few things popping up that I want to respond to, but we've moved on from the moved on from the topic. But yeah, I love these events so much. The things that I don't like is they're too short, but also if they're any longer, they would be too long, if that makes any sense. I don't like, I very much dislike setting stuff up. Taking down's not actually as bad, even though it's sad when you take stuff down. Like setting up is a pain. I kind of wish that Sunday was a full day, but also I don't, if that makes sense as well. Like almost, I'm like, I don't know how, I don't know how else they would do it, because I've heard that obviously the events used to be 3 days. They used to be on bank holidays. Like Sunday used to be a full day, and that didn't work
Yeah.
out. I get it. Like I think, and then a lot of the time, a lot of the events, it comes to Sunday afternoon and we're done. We're just like, oh, I'm so tired. So yeah, getting over tiredness, then eating. Eating is a big problem. Eating's a problem. PD are they're for a small team. They are coping with the growth of the game very well. I've never had every email I've ever sent them, no matter how freaking stupid it is. Not that I'm hounding them at all, but I'm like, God, it must be so big. Sometimes I will send an email, and it will just, I mean, it'll be something real trivial, like, oh yeah, I haven't got, by the way, like, I haven't got this ribbon in my inventory, and I'm just like, I wouldn't expect a prompt reply because currently they are just about to have a massive event, that is like 10 times what planning a wedding must be like, and they're doing that 4 times a year, and they've got thousands of people just about to show up, and it's just like, and then they just reply like instantly, and it's always pleasant, and it's always they do a
Yeah,
very
like,
good job of that. So a lot of, sorry, I was going to finish my point, like,
no, no.
so yeah, any issue that I have, I feel like as soon as I have an issue, it's addressed quite quickly. Yeah. So sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I always feel like I don't email unless I'm 100% sure I need to email. When I do email, I try to put every single thing that I possibly maybe want to say in that one email because I don't want to bother them. And then when they reply, I'm like, oh, that's a really nice reply. Do I reply to that reply? Because I feel like I should acknowledge that reply. But am I bothering someone who's trying to work really hard on the other end just for the sake of being like, hey, thanks for your reply?
Yeah.
Again, just want to be polite.
Yeah, I feel like I wanted a better answer to that question because it's a very good question. But yeah, there's not a lot that is like that bugs me about this event specifically. I mean, there's people. There's a lot of people, and with people, yeah, I mean, you're going to get problems every now and again.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing actually, because like if we're in the event, we've mentioned things that are very much like, okay, like I could mention things that are not really related to the event, like, being overtired or like queuing for showers, that sort of, that's not really the event, is it? That's just sort of things that we go through, I guess.
I mean, actually, I mean, maybe I do have an answer for this. Actually, like least
Okay.
favorite parts of the event, monstering. It's probably my least favorite part. Not specifically the fighting as the monster, but having to get up, go do your duty. It's almost like voting. It's almost like being like, oh, I better show up for jury duty, because I'm a good citizen, and you want to be a good player. I'm not saying don't do it, but it's not overly enjoyable sometimes when you're like, oh, I have to do this, and I'm glad that people do it, because obviously when we're on the other side, I'm glad there are monsters for us to fight. But yeah, it just takes away a lot of Sunday. It takes away so much of Sunday when you monster a Sunday for me. So that's probably and then the way I deal with that is just go, oh, well, I'm going to try and get everything done on the Saturday and the Friday, so Sunday is going to be a chill day. That's usually how I deal with that.
I mean, I think I'd agree with you. I love monstering on the Saturday.
It's fine. Like when I'm actually in the thick of it and I'm actually monstering, it's fine. But it's all the like, okay, now we have to like walk back, and now we have to like go get a shower, and then we get and then we have to go get ready again. And
I've been quite lucky. Like the last few times I've been monstering, I've ended up with brand new players with me. Like the last few times now. And I've really enjoyed that because I'm like, oh, this is a cool way of showing a new player about the combat side of it, answering those questions, having some fun without any risk to your character. So I've quite enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Monster on the Sunday's a pain in the ass. but we will always do it and we'll always give it our all. Okay, so
Is it my turn?
I think it's your turn. Yeah, go for it.
Oh wait, no, this was the question I was actually thinking about. Do you think the Druge should be exterminated? / what do you think is on the other side of the Druge lands?
Death to the Druge.
Yeah, death to the fucking... in character, death to the Druge. Out of character, I like the Druge.
Death to
It's
the
like,
Druge.
I don't know, they're like our Joker to our Batman, you know? I'm like,
I
like,
know they are. I don't actually want them gone.
no, I would, yeah, I mean, I would prefer to like follow them into their homelands, you know? And because, I mean,
Kill
I think...
them more there.
Well, I've spoken to players that have more knowledge about this, more knowledge about the geography, because like on the other side of like the Druge lands, that there is more like territories that would be very good for the Empire. So I'm perfectly happy to keep pushing that direction, you know, which is probably why I'm not that concerned about like the Grendel front, which is probably why we're probably going to be forced to be concerned about what's going on with the Grendel. But no, I'd perfectly be happy like just fighting the Druids forever. But in character, yeah, I want to exterminate them. So. I think I'm with Tancred being like, yeah, just like it's the like destroying them is the opposite of glory, is sort of what Tancred was saying to us. It's like, you know, glory is being remembered for winning, and everyone remembers you because they're like, yeah, it's which people get confused with glory. People think that glory is all about like being a good person and doing the right thing. It's about it's about being remembered. I think one of the good examples, because ancient history is like Alexander the Great was glorious. Doesn't mean he was a good person. Doesn't mean that he did the right thing at all. But everybody remembers, and he's literally known in history as Alexander the Great. You know, that's glorious. Yeah, and the opposite of glory with the Druge is to like basically burn the libraries, to have it so there's no trace of them. So
Sorry.
yeah.
So the next question, I was trying to do some quick research.
It's obvious because your computer screen is like flashing up.
I know, because it's not the next one question, it's the next two questions are related to it. I was like, oh shit. I don't know enough about this. Because the next two questions are, what do you make of the Brewing Liberty Pact War? Sorry. And do you have an IC/OC goals regarding that potential conflict? Particularly if the Druze are wiped out and Dawn no longer have to worry about their old foe.
Yeah.
Right.
So
do you know anything about this, actually?
So my general knowledge of this is like the Liberty Pack is really quite interesting because it's a player. It was completely. I'm pretty sure it's completely player led, prompted. You know, it was just like, oh yeah, we want to free slaves. Yeah. So. I'm all for jumping into that game. It's weird because it's like I feel like if we, it feels very much like, okay, the Barrens is ours. It would feel a little bit lame if from a storytelling point of view, PD was just like, oh, actually, there's a whole kingdom of Druge and now they're coming for the Dornish. I feel like that would be a little bit like convoluted and be like, oh, okay, let's retake the Barrens part 2 for the next 10 years. You know, like I don't think that's the way that's gonna go.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, well, I feel like the Dornish storyline is kind of like wrapping up. You know, for that as a nation, being like, okay, yeah, you know, well, we've got the Druze on the back foot. I feel like the Barrens as well, like. Once we overtake it, we've got a nice little like thing to, because like basically people can only invade us by sea. Once we have it, people can only invade us by sea, you know. So we can push all the way through, but I think we've got a good protection with like Holberg and things like that on the other borders, right? So it feels very much like, you know, we'll hang out, keep taking places in the Barrens. Shore that up, a bit like what Urizen are doing with Zenith, you know, and just kind of chill there. But in the meantime, overarching story, let's go deal with other stuff. So I'm looking forward to learning more about what the hell's going on
Yeah,
in other parts of the Empire.
that's the thing. Like, I'm kind of the same. I did like a quick search because I was like, what is this? And Liberty Bat, pretty much, yeah, like exactly what you're saying there. I can't find anything on the Liberty Bat War. That's the issue. And I'm like, did a few searches there, and I'm terrible with the wiki, and I couldn't find anything. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the thing. Like, obviously, now that Dawn are a bit more freed up, I guess we're going to end up doing a lot of different things, and I don't really know where the story is going to go from this point, actually, which is quite exciting to be part of this part of history. Right. And then there is another question from Kyle, who said, "Is there an area of the game you look at and go, that's cool, I'd play another character to interact with that? If so, what is it? And why is it being a highborn priest?"
Yeah, well, I kind of know what he's getting at.
I want to interact with the bard side of the game, and I want to do that by making a bard, and I want that bard to tell deep, dark horror stories in Varishka.
I think, yeah, I understand. I understand the question because your character can't do everything. Your character can try to do everything, but when it comes to actual skills, like you can't get enough experience points to have like be a priest, be a battle mage, be a do everything, be an exorcist, do absolutely be an autumn mage, be a spring mage, be a winter mage, be a day mage. Like you can't do absolutely everything. You can't be a ritual caster. Yeah, no, I would definitely like to jump into the magic gate. No, well, I don't. No, that makes it sound like I'm going to. I've definitely looked at the magic game and gone, yeah, that's cool. I would like to make a character, like making a day mage to go do some day rituals and be like the studious like wizard. I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'll always be playing. I'll always be playing my paladin archetype. I think, even if it means like being a Varushkan priest or something like that. That's totally paladin-y. I don't know if I can see myself playing a wizard ever in Empire, but it is something I've looked at and been like, that looks pretty cool.
Okay, so over from Instagram, I've got Carby Ryan asking, why pick Dawn as your nation?
I'm saying like I know exactly why. Do you want to go first on this one, or?
Cause we're simply the best. There you go.
Number one nation. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. Yeah. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first. Go first.
Yeah. I love the. I've always. I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. It's very difficult when you're like passionate about a certain type of fiction. Hey, thank you very much for the follow. It me KP 03. I know exactly who you are. I don't, because everyone's got different Twitch names and Discord names, and I'm never sure who's okay with me calling them by their names or their Discord names or whatever. So thank you very much for the follow. Welcome into the realm. I'm pretty sure you follow us on other stuff as well. Why do we pick Dawn? Basically, I love romantic fantasy.
Well, the question is why pick Dawn?
Exactly, yeah. So stretch. Dawn, I've always, every like video game I've played, every role-playing game I've played, I've always played the knight. My favorite characters in fiction have always been like the knight archetype as well. It doesn't matter if it's like a Boy Scout knight like Captain America or like a Dark Knight like Batman. I've always been into that European romantic fantasy, and Dawn obviously like encapsulates that with a bit of a twist, because I like what they've done with getting basically shifting chivalry away, which is why I think people get confused with glory, because people very much associate like European Arthurian style fantasy knights with chivalry, and an honor code, and the brief literally says we're not honorable and we're not chivalrous, because chivalry obviously has connotations with a society that has gender archetypes, and we're playing in a gender blind setting. So chivalry isn't a thing. So glory is going to be different from chivalry. So that I like that. Yeah, this is such a long question for me to answer, but Dawn is. Okay, I'm gonna say something that I'm not entirely sure whether I think is true myself, but I feel like it might be the case. I don't know if I would be playing Empire if it wasn't for Dawn. As in, not that Dawn did something for me, it's just that when I saw Empire, I saw Dawn first and went, that's what I want. Right? Empire seemed like an awesome game, and I'm glad. I love all the other nations. I love all the other nations and the archetypes and blah blah blah. It makes it feel like a living, breathing world. But if Dawn didn't exist in the Empire, I probably would have looked in the game and gone, oh, yeah, I might give like Navarre a go or something, or I could be a Viking, But the fact that Dawn was a thing is what made me want to play Empire.
I don't have a very good answer for this question. Because although it says why join Dawn, I'm going to preface it with why I joined Dawn, which is a very boring answer. And it's because you were joining Dawn. Like, that's why I joined, really. But why I actually joined Dawn? Dawn is a nation that is so different from the others. Most of the other nations, they have this sense of a full nation together. They do everything together. You can rile up their entire nation, and they all back one another. Dawn do support one another, but there's that individualistic part of it which allows you to shine if that's something you want to do. It allows you to stand out and to not just prove yourself to other people in the Empire, but you've really got to prove yourself to your nation. I find a huge amount of my game proving myself to other epic houses within my own nation, bringing them on side, convincing them to fight for me or to fight with me. It's something that is just, from what I've experienced, just so extraordinary. It also chucks you into the role play. Now, all the nations, the role play is incredible. All the nations really push you into that role play. I love the role play in Dawn. I love the fact that we're there to fight and be glorious and be badass, but none of us have an issue being like, fuck that, I'm not doing that fight. Like none of us have an issue with that. And I like that as well, because we're not about being like, oh, that's cowardice. That's not this, that's not that. We're just like, we don't care because we're all our own individual people.
Yeah, well, that's the we're talking about glory now. I mean, I can't. So yeah. Hey, I don't know much about like the Grendel or the Peace Treaty, but I can tell you about glory, which is so I know my brief, and I know what I think about my brief and what Godric thinks about the brief. So that's the thing with like honor. Honor a lot of the time, and obviously honor culture is a very. It's sometimes popularized, but it's a very sensitive topic in the real world, right? But it's very much a thing that's been part of many human cultures. In a lot of cultures where it's honor cultures, losing equals shame. that is very undawnish. It literally says in like the one of the main things in the Dawnish brief, okay, we're glorious in victory and we're proud in defeat, which is a virtue, right? So basically going in, accepting the challenge and losing is as important, if not more important sometimes than winning. But when you do finally win, it's making sure everybody knows that you won. That's what's being glorious. So it's not an honor culture, it's not, and that's what I think people get a little bit confused with that. But I think it's because people go, oh yeah, it's Arthurian knights, therefore they're all about like honor and justice and blah. No, we're about winning, and when we lose, being like, okay, cool, I lost. I get to fight another day, and guess what? Next time I'm going to win, and everyone's going to know I win, and I'm going to get to be put in a book, and people are going to tell stories about me for generations, long after I pass through the labyrinth multiple times. That's glory, But I'm talking about glory now, not about. I mean, I'm sort of selling Dawn. People are saying why Dawn,
You
so
are.
I'm selling Dawn.
I feel like it's kind of like like we're not dicks, but if we know we can't save you from where you are at this point, we're not going to. But if we can save you, we most likely are going to do so.
I think that Dawn is very much the social standing nation. Obviously, that goes on in the politics game and in the entirety of Empire, but more so because it is encapsulating that like Game of Thrones, Game of Houses. I'm currently like rereading the Wheel of Time books, and there's this nation in those books. Is a nation called Kyrian, and that is like the sort of, not really the Dawn, but it's the nobility structure where you have a very defined noble houses, and what they do is they play this thing, and it's called the Great Game. It's a very commonly used things in like fantasy, because it used to happen. It still happens. Like people do it on social media. People look for like clout, and that's what like glory is basically. Glory is like social clout, and sometimes people will come into the glory square and be like, Dawn sucks. Like the Brascos literally did it. They're aiming it at a specific person, but they initially came in and went, hey, we're in your glory square. And lots of nations do that. Every time that happens, they're always just met with silence. Like if you go into Songs and Stories and go, hey, Navarre, fuck Songs and Stories, like the Navarre will, as a nation, go, what? And there'll be a riot. If you go to the marches and disrespect the marches will all band together. Dawn, not so much. If you go and go, right, okay, you specifically, Godric, you are I hear that you are a shit fighter, and you have no glory. I will take that personally. Michael Jordan, me. And I took that personally. But if you come into Godric and go, yeah, Dawn sucks, and I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. It's wrong, but some parts of Dawn suck. Yeah, of course. But Godric doesn't suck.
Going into this, actually, although we're on the topics of glory here, I will never forget, like, whenever anyone asks me what glory is or what it's about or anything, the same scene comes into my mind every single time. And it was one of my first experiences in Dawn, may have even been my first event or maybe my second at the latest. And that's when somebody came running into the glory square being like, Dawn, we need you for the skirmish. It will be glorious. And they were saying all these things. And I looked around and I saw all these people. Because at first I was like, oh my gosh, there's a fight. Do we need to go and do that? I think it was my first event. And everybody around the glory square were all just like, and they went back to their conversations. And that was the moment where I went, oh.
That's the experience you get in Dawn.
Oh.
And it's unique because I at first, like I've had my mind changed about the whole like, because most of the other nations, they have this thing, especially like I know definitely Navarre and Wintermark have it where at the beginning of the event they have like this national standing or the moot or whatever it's called.
Yes.
and that they do the whole like, oh, these are the I think the league have it as well. They're like, oh, these are these people and these are these people, and oh yeah, let's bring the new people in and show them everything. Dawn doesn't do that. And I used to think, oh, we should do that, or we should have a big festival. We will go around just as one nation. But now I'm realizing that it's not Dawn, and that is actually what makes Dawn special. In a weird way, it's also what makes Dawn not for everyone. And when someone says, "I went to Dawn, I hated it," I totally understand. I have lots of LARP friends that started in Dawn and went, "No, I don't like the dynamic in Dawn," and I get it. I completely get it. For us, it fits like a glove, but it's just the way we like to play. I actually it makes complete sense to me, like you said, because I'm pretty sure it was like some sort of Urzeni came into their glory square and went, "We need people for a skirmish. We're vastly outnumbered." And everyone was just like, anyway, and they went back to their important conversations with their friends and their little cliques.
Outnumbered. We're going to die. We need help. Yeah, good luck.
So, yeah. The thing is, knowing the system now, it's just like, well, you're actually better off going to Wintermark or Navarre and be like, hey, we need people to come on this skirmish, that are keen. I think that's where people get confused with the Dawn brief. They're just like, oh, Dawn are into glory. It's like,
I feel like the one way to get Dawn is if it's the Druge. If you literally not in the if you literally come around the house, he's like, hey, want to go kill some Druge? Like that's I think that works quite well. Just that, hey, want to build a snowman?
Yeah. The thing is, like, glory. If you run off and die needlessly, that's not glorious. And the system isn't built like it's not D&D. Like, you're not an Avenger. Like, one player character can't do a lot. Like, a one player character can't go and just like slay a big monster or kill like 2 or 3 orcs on their own. It's a very balanced, and a lot of the time, it's especially if you're a new player, you're actually underpowered for like the skirmish crew and things like that you're going to be facing. In fact, a lot underpowered. So like one new player versus like one skirmish crew member is probably not going to go very well for them, to be honest. So like there's not really
contest that it doesn't go well. Our next question is from Creamy She from our Twitch. So I'm planning to start LARP next year with my younger sisters. Where would you recommend buying outfits and gear? Okay, how about I answer for your younger sisters and you can answer for them? I don't actually know if they are actually no, we'll just have to do both. So how about I answer femme, you answer mask?
Okay, sure.
So best place to buy sort of femme outfits. There's lots of places online. There's also like cheaper places. Like I actually get a lot of things from like Amazon and Shein and eBay and things like that. So I get a lot of things, even like places like Primark and stuff like that, which is here in the UK. So like your sort of cheaper shops, like getting femme sort of cotton dresses and things are quite easy actually. Actual sort of like online places, I use Holly Clothing quite a lot because you can do custom dyes, custom sizing, and although they only have so many pieces, it's really easy to make them look unique to yourself, and that works quite well. Armor and gear is hard. Like I won't lie, it's hard. Leather stuff, Lock and Load on Etsy does some incredible female armor. That's where I get mine. I get them to cut the leather and send it to me, and I tool it and dye it. They have confirmed that they are happy to do that for anyone. They do all different types of leather armor. Really great. It's really well shaped, and it perfectly works for like that sort of female armor shape. Because it is quite difficult to find that female armor that is actually practical and doesn't make you look like, what's the right words? Like female armor is actually practical for use and doesn't just make you look like a video game meme. is quite difficult to find online. I haven't found any metal armor so far, apart from stuff that I've bought secondhand off of friends. So I can't really advise on that at the minute. But that's it for fem stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my stuff's pretty much gonna be similar type advice, really. I mean, the best place to do it is going to be at like kit fairs and cons if you can. Going to actual LARPs is going to be good for getting gear. If you can, my biggest advice, depending on the LARP you're going to, if you're going to go to a big fest LARP where there are going to be a lot of traders, I would get your base layers. I would get either your trousers, your dresses, and I was supposed to do a mask, but whatever. So any base layers, shirts, things like that. Anything to keep you warm or cool, anything like that. Basically, if you're going to pick a character that you're going to go, right, okay, I can show up to the event and be dressed, basically, and then save the rest of your budget for buying stuff at the event. I think that's what I would suggest. Buying your like weapons and armor and things like that at the event. If you're going to start at small LARP where that's not going to be a thing, try and go to a con, try and go to a kit fair where you can pick up and look at the weapons, where you can try the armor on. If you can't manage that still, there is a lot of websites that you can get stuff from. A lot. There are like your wishes and things like that. I would probably avoid them. If you can, I would definitely do your research, join Discord communities and Facebook groups. Ideally for the LARP you're going to attend, and they will give you advice, things like that. If not, then like just ask general advice in LARP groups. Where's best to buy such and such? I'm looking for a gambeson of this style. Can anyone suggest any traders? People will then give you names of trusted traders, because there are a lot of websites out there, unfortunately, and traders that aren't good, and they will take your money and they will steal it, and you won't get your stuff. There's a few that I won't name, but yeah, basically, take your time, do your research. It's very much I'm so excited that I can't wait to go to this LARP, and I totally want all my armor and I want everything now. But yeah, definitely take your time, make do with a shirt and a pair of trousers and some decent boots and a cloak maybe. Cloaks aren't going to be that difficult to come by. And then the rest of it you can take your time with and build slowly. That would be my advice.
Definitely. Cool. So everyone, we have got 2 more questions and 1 statement. And I think after that, we're probably going to stop there.
Yeah, we're already well over, yeah.
Yeah, we're well over, but I want to make sure we've got everybody here. And I want to make sure I've not missed anything. So what's our other statement? I literally just copied this over because I was like, I do not remember us actually writing this on the chat. I thought that was kind of cool. And this was from I've got the same chat open as you, Oliver. Help me out here.
Which one are you looking at?
It's
Kyle. Kyle?
Kyle, why is your name so weird on here? Just Kyle, let's just go over it. No, the fighting as a herald next to you as a Jotun was hilarious. We had a mid respawn snack.
Yeah, that was the monster battle where I was so hungover, like heavily hungover. That was that was a fun one because I just wanted to die. That was the one where I tried to die and I just couldn't die. People wouldn't let me die.
Oh my god, we were both just trying to die that whole time. You got to go to respawn. Freaking Jotun did stay with me on me. I'm like, no. What are you doing? I mean, die. Okay, so 2 more questions. So this is nice intelligent gamer. And this is a repost from their earlier question, which is, I'm not sure if this is an EU versus USA thing, but festival LARPs tend to be PvP for the most part here. It astonishes me how Empire manages to have enough of an NPC crew to surface gameplay for its gigantic player base. What do you think would help encourage NPC participation here? Or might it just be a cultural thing?
We've pretty much answered this question,
I
but
think we have.
yeah,
Yeah, I got
because
like halfway through it. I was like, oh, I think we
yeah,
just actually went
yeah,
over this.
yeah, we've answered this question. The parts we haven't answered, no, it's not a cultural thing. As a fest LARP, it's it's getting bigger and it keeps changing, but the reason it can get so much bigger is because it's made to be that. Like if it needed a ratio of NPCs to players, then it would become unsustainable for the numbers we have. So basically, yeah, they actually technically do need NPC crew, but they're only like, when we spoke to Mike, he was like, "Oh yeah, like currently we're looking like 4,000 players," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we only need like 5 to 8 more." Like ideally, but not to the point where we can't run the game. Like it's you don't need a massive, like when you've got a player led infrastructure like Empire does, having just throwing literally, you could just be like halfway through Saturday, you could be like, here's 400 more players, and the game would just run as smoothly in Senate
Yeah.
on the battles as it normally would. Most people wouldn't even know the difference if 400 people just showed up and just split between all the nations. Like it's not. That's why it works as a festival art. I don't think it's a cultural thing. I know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because I know North America. I don't know a lot of US LARPs. I know there's LARPs like Bickerline and things like that that run like in a similar vein where they've not got a lot of NPCs. Bickerline's weird because they have like a Ren Fair sort of going on at the same time, where it's like a bit of a Disneyland type
Yeah.
thing going on as well, where they've got a lot of staff and that going on, and people that are just there to entertain other people, but which is sort of a player thing as well. Yeah, it's weird, but yeah, every LARP is different. There's not. There's the weird thing about the community is that there's so many different variations of the same hobby. It's a bit weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, our very final question is from Kamova. And they have said, I can't remember if I posed this question before or if it was asked and answered before I joined. But are there any other LARP events you've been looking at? And if so, which ones? Yes, we have already answered this one before you joined, but I think we'll do like a really quick recap just to end on. Um, Basically, I think we're both like, yes, there are definitely other LARP systems that we would like to try, but doing the 4 Empire LARPs a year definitely does take it out of us when it comes to just sort of energy, time, money, taking time off work, and so on. Personally, I have my eye on Second Breakfast, which is a Hobbit themed LARP, and Hoist, which is a pirate themed LARP, and also some horror stuff, which is quite cool. What about you, Oliver?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other LARPs that I've been looking at. There's a the problem is a lot of it is, I mean, that's why we do this for LARP in general, content create, because it's so difficult to tell what you're getting into. There's a lot of LARPs that go, oh yeah, cool, there's a LARP in this theme, in this setting. I have no idea what I'm gonna jump into. I don't want to go. It's difficult because yeah, sometimes you're probably gonna have to. You're gonna have to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go try it, and it might be terrible, or it might be awesome, But a lot of LARPs just don't have video footage. They don't have they don't have the modernized like website and content creation like marketing, and be like, hey, this is our rule system. A lot of the time, it is a website or a wiki that just goes, here's 10 pages of rules, and please join our Facebook group if you want to come. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, but that's a lot of time that's all you have to go on. So it's definitely
Yeah.
something we want to explore. So I mean, if this venture to having to roll keeps drifting into LARP, making more LARP content, it's definitely something I want to do with the channel, is explore the LARPs via the channel. That's what I would like to do, because the problem is Empire is my hobby, and it's my holiday, and obviously like my content creation is very like it mixes with that a lot, and I want to be playing the game of Empire. I don't want to be like constantly filming me playing Empire either as well. So
I would like to leave everybody with a question. Before we sort of end our stream for this evening, the question I want to ask you all is, what do you want to see more of? Now, I have ideas, and we both have ideas that we're like, oh, we think people might like to know about this aspect or that aspect or how this works. But if there's anything that you're like, oh, I really like to see how they do this at LARP or how this works, or anything at all, please put it in. We have a channel dedicated to feedback, to any suggestions like this. So please put it in there, let us know, and then we can see if we can make that happen for you all as well. Yeah, and I think that's us all finished up.